So I finally got around to watching my buddy Evan Smith's videos on this new 7.3 Ford, the Godzilla motor. And this is a piece, right? So right, before I go any further, I gotta explain something, right? I have a lifelong love/hate affair with the Ford V8. Like, on the one hand, there's the little Windsor, right? It's a magical engine. It is, not only do I love the Windsor, I love the idea of it. You know, the 289, the 302, the 351, they're just awesome engines. I raced one for a year, had great success with it. On the other hand, some of Ford's more exotic stuff, like for instance the camera. I know I'm going to get all kinds of hate from you people, right? But you have to understand something. I spent 3 months of my life completely immersed in everything camera for a potential nostalgia top fuel thing that I was going to, crew chief tune. So I dove into camera land, like, you know what I mean? And I went there. I went so far that I was actually trying to find the remains of Sneaky Pete Robinson's car, you know, the one that he crashed and got killed in 71. Because I wanted to study the internal parts of that engine. I wanted to see what the wear characteristics were of an actual nostalgia, an actual top fuel camera. And after beating my head against the wall and trying to figure this thing every way to Sunday, I found that, you know what, it won't work. It's not a good motor. You know, and to anybody who has anything to say about that, show me one place in the world today where the camera has any, a presence at all, other than the occasional oddball street rod. So, and then the overhead cam motors, period. I have like this emotional negative reaction to Ford overhead cam motors. For some reason, they always try to trick themselves out of the park. I don't know why they do this, right? Like the thing that got me out of the repair business, right? I said, you know what? The thing that got me to YouTube, the reason I do YouTube today is because it was a stepping stone from when I was in the parts business, and I got into the parts business because I had to get away from the repair business. I had to get away from fixing cars because it was the 6th Ford Explorer 4.0 timing chain job that I did. That I got halfway through this job and I just says, you know what? There's nothing good in life anymore, right? This is over. It's just a sucking black hole of doom because Ford had to stick these cams on top of this otherwise innocent, happy engine, right? So I have this automatic knee-jerk reaction to anything overhead cam Ford. So don't tell me anything about Coyotes or mod motors. I don't want to hear about it. They don't exist in my world. All right. So let's get that out of the way. So anyway, so I'm watching these videos, and this guy, by the way, that's Brian Wolf, right? He was a Ford executive. He was actually big involved. Back when I was doing the Mustang thing, he was head of the special vehicles operation thing. And Brian was a really good guy, and he was a drag racer. He was like a real drag racer. And he had a lot to do with the genesis of this 7.3. So while they market it, they tout it, and he talks about it as a truck engine, right? And something for efficiency and something that's, no, I know where this thing came from. This is a drag engine, and it's intended to put the LS out of Mustangs. So as people are swapping LSs into Mustangs left and right, well, this is like, if you're a Ford guy, you don't crossbreed like that. It's an ultimate sin. So I believe that the spiritual origination of the 7.3 of Godzilla, right, is as a replacement, not a replacement, but okay, forget the LS. Here's what you stick in one of these things. So how do these engines stack up against the other competition? The LS and the Chrysler Hemi, right? So just looking at this thing, right? You know what? Let's just put some clips in here. Let this play in the background, and we'll just put clips. So you start out. This thing starts at 445 cubic inches. Okay, it's packaged as a small block. It's only 1.5 inches or so wider than the 351 Windsor. It's only about 1 inch longer than that. and yet it's 445 cubic inches. So right away, right, this puts you light years ahead, just from a size standpoint and a packaging standpoint. This puts you light years ahead of an LS, and it puts you at a minimum 50 cubic inches bigger than a Chrysler. Now the Chrysler is a good engine. I'm not going to knock the Chryslers. People doing amazing stuff with it, and they'll take 1,000 horsepower like they're falling out of a tree. But this new Godzilla motor, it's built. You know, it's got a beautiful, the crank is a piece of forged jewelry. It's 6-bolt mains all the way down, you know, 4 up and 2 through the sides, all the way down the line, all 5 mains. It has what I think is ingenious for a Ford, right? To see an oil pump, rear-mounted oil pump on a Ford, right? That don't exist. They have a shaft-mounted. You got to dig this, okay? They have a windage tray. It's a cast aluminum windage tray with a shaft that runs from the front of the motor to the back of the motor, and at the very back of the motor, built into this windage tray, is the oil pump, and the oil pump just sits there at the back. I mean, it's a drag engine, okay? If you look at the pistons on these things, right, they went from maximum size in minimum package. You look at the ring package on this. You know, it's like the pin is up in the oil ring. If you know, you see a stroker race piston, well, these things are stroker race pistons. You know, it's got a very compact pack. You know, the wrist pin is up in the oil ring, right? I mean, you just aren't going to get any bigger than this, right? 445 cubic inches. You know, from get-go. I imagine you could use a slightly shorter rod, get a little bit more stroke out of it. Bore, I don't know how much bigger you go on the bore. I don't know how much bigger you'd have to go. I think 445 cubic inches is about it. Looking at the architecture of this, of the bottom end of this thing, you're talking, and like, I'm not exaggerating, right? This is a 1,500 horsepower bottom end without touching anything. And I bet you if you keep it out of detonation, she'd probably be happy to around 2,000 horsepower. This thing is ready for big nitrous, big blowers. It's you know, it's an engine that's built to take advantage of every bit of performance technology that we have today. You know, where the LS was really designed as, you know, just a good rugged all-around engine, and the Hemi along the same lines. It was more like the cashing on the novelty of a Hemi as opposed to the actual virtue of a Hemi. But the 7.3 Godzilla is, in my opinion, it's ready to eat everybody's lunch. The cylinder heads. It's a true inline wedge. I shouldn't say it's a true inline wedge. The valves are canted at like 8 degrees, right? They appear, if you look at it, it says, oh, you know, right on that line, right? It's an inline wedge. But no, there's a slight cant, so you get some swirl going on in there. Beautiful combustion chambers, dual quench pairs of the combustion chambers, giant valves. I mean, the 426 Hemi size valves. You can't beat this thing. So where does it stack up? The problem, I think, that Ford's, the engine itself is perfection, and I'm dead serious about this. It's just a jewel, okay? Where I think there's going to be a problem is there's going to be very limited production, meaning it's only intended for the Super Duty trucks. So it's going to be a long time before enough of these things hit the wrecking yards that they become a viable swap. You know, like the LS. Well, it'll never be as viable as the LS because, you know, there's just countless millions of them. They just fall out of the sky, right? But it'll be a long time before this thing actually finds itself out there in enough numbers to really make a dent in the market. Now, Ford was smart, okay? They would flood the market with cheap crate motors. They would build these things as fast as they could, and they would give them away. Like, not give them away, but, you know, sell them as bare bones a price as possible with standalone electronics. And watch out, because this engine actually has the capability, the potential, you know, today, here and now, to become the engine of, the performance engine of the future. You know, and everybody's going to have to just, if they want to play the game, they're going to have to recalculate and then go after that. This is going to be the mark to beat. The problem I see with it is that Ford's coming along very late in the game with this, kind of like they do with the Boss 429. The Boss 429, yeah, that's another example of Ford tricking themselves out of the you know, the market there, the goofy head gasket stuff. But the Boss 429, it's beautiful combustion chambers. You know, it's everything that the 426 Hemi should have been. It's everything that the Camry should have been. It's everything that you know, modern performance Hemis, you know, all of those qualities that they have. But it came along so late in the game during that cycle of the performance, that it never really achieved the kind of status that it did. Plus, there were, packaging issues because it's huge, right? But the 7.3, there's zero chance of me ever owning one. That ain't gonna happen, right? But I would love to get involved. If somebody had one of these motors and a Fox Mustang or a Fairmont or something and wanted to stick it in there and go play games, call me, man. I'm all about it. I'd love to dig into this engine. So that's it. Check out Reverend Evans' channel if you haven't seen it already. Subscribe to it, like it, watch his videos. He's a really good guy. If you're a Ford person, he's Mr. Ford. He's the editor of Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords for almost 75 years, I think it was. So that's it. See, I don't hate Fords. I'll see you tomorrow.